All right, guys, we're going to go over one part of the appraisal, like basically the tale of two outcomes. So, in that last deal, I kind of wanted to go over something more thoroughly. Uh, so, we talked about in the most recent deal. This was the outcome, right? And this is what I'll, uh, I'll put in the attachment where the appraisal came back at $200,000 below the contract price. Okay, we saw the contract price was $300,000, and the seller dropped the price to 280, and we had to extend the close of escrow because the deal fell behind schedule due to this issue. Right, it was 5 days before the close of escrow. There was no way we were going to get the underwriter to fund the loan within 5 days, so I had to submit another 10 days to extend the close of escrow date. And yeah, just to recap, the property was under 300 under contract for $300,000, and the appraiser, which represents the bank, stated that the property was worth 280, even though the buyer said it was worth 300 by placing an offer for $300,000. Okay, now what happens if the appraisal becomes below the contract price, like in my most recent deal, where right it was the contract price was $300,000, and then the appraisal comes back at 280. Well, if outcome one, just to recap, the buyer can put the extra money down to make up the difference. So the buyer can fork up the extra $20,000 cash. Okay, and then outcome number two is that the seller can make an addendum to drop the sale price to the appraisal value. Okay, so that's how we would do that. We would submit an addendum saying seller agrees to reduce purchase contract to appraisal value of $200,000, $280,000. So those are the two outcomes. If the appraisal is below the contract value, what happens if it appraises above contract? Right? What happens? Outcome one, buyer's safe. Doesn't have to do anything. They're in a great situation. So it's if it's coming up above the contract price, you're golden. You're like, okay, I can just sit back and enjoy the equity. And guess what? The seller isn't going to increase the contract price. Like they can just now relax and trust that the loan's going to get approved by the underwriter. So in this situation, most of the time, if it appraises above the contract price, everyone just kind of sits in the stalemate position where they're just like, hey, we're both going to sit back. We're going to wait for the underwriter to approve everything, and we're going to just ride the rest of this deal out. So those are the outcomes that you can pretty much bank on in the event of appraisal, right? Above contract, below contract, and those are the outcomes. So, all right, thanks, guys.